What if you were to take 100% responsibility for your life? Would that change things? For most people, it would change things dramatically because responsibility means practicing self-control, finishing what you begin, doing your best and keep trying for more, being accountable for all of your choices. But what it also means is the opposite of responsibility is to blame, shame, and justify. So when you think about your life, how many times are you caught playing the blame game? How many times are you making other people responsible for you being late, or other people responsible for the financial situation that you're in, or other people being responsible for whatever it is in your life? Or even worse, not blaming others, but blaming yourself. You've begun to shame yourself, beat yourself up, continually criticize the actions that you've taken. Or what if you're just justifying or rationalizing, or what I call rationing lies? You see, as we keep ourselves stuck in these patterns, we ultimately get to say, hey, I'm the victim here. It's not my fault. But at the end of the day, in your life and your business, you have to make a decision. Are you going to play the responsibility game, or are you going to continue to blame, shame, and justify for the results that you've been producing in your life? Now listen, I'm not here to beat you up. I'm here to encourage you to step up and play a higher level game. And in a moment, I'm going to introduce you to a fun game that you can play every day at your home, at your office, wherever you are in the world, that will help you break the patterns of blaming, shaming, and justifying, and help you become responsible. Help you actually achieve the level of success that you've been desiring. Now, we call it a game because I believe that games are an incredible way to transform our thinking and our behavior. But ask yourself this question. When you were a kid, did you play games? If so, why do we play games? Well, if you're like me, you grew up playing neighborhood games like tag or hide and seek, or maybe you played board games like Monopoly or Scrabble or Life. Eventually, most of us got into things like video games, where you go dump quarters into an arcade game for hours. I know I did that. I used to ride my bicycle for miles with a pocket full of quarters to shove them into the pinball machine, and I would invest literally hours of fun and excitement with me and my friends. Well, those video games in the arcade eventually came into our homes. They made it into console games like the Atari and Nintendo and Xbox. Well, nowadays, we've got social and mobile games that are literally in the palm of our hand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So the question is, why do we play these games? Well, number one, they're fun, right? They challenge you, you discover things, and ultimately you get a sense of success, and you also get to learn about how you play the game to, number two, win the game. And winning is not just reaching the end zone, right? Winning is improving your thinking, your skills, and your results. The third reason that most people play games is to connect, either with themselves and their lessons or their insights, or with others, but it's also to discover how to win the game. And oftentimes, some of our best lessons aren't just from our wins, they actually come from our losses. Think about sports, for example. Have you ever played a sport where you got to a certain level and you had to improve your skill set or your mindset in order to take the next level? You didn't win every game, did you? Some of your best lessons have come from when your progress stopped, you had to step back, reflect upon your losses, and figure out how to improve your thinking or your skill set. Well, that's the purpose of playing games. And there's 4 defining traits of every good game. Now, I'm sharing this with you again because in just a moment, I'm going to describe a game that you're going to play that's going to help you learn to become responsible. It's going to help you to quit blaming, shaming, and justifying, right? But let me first talk about the 4 defining traits of a game. Number 1, it's got to have a goal because goals provide a sense of purpose. Number 2, it's got to have rules. Now, rules unleash our creativity and they foster strategic thinking. If there were no rules, there wouldn't be any challenge, right? Number 3 is you need some kind of feedback system. Now, in most games, you'll see things like points, or you'll achieve different levels. You'll have a score, you'll have a progress bar. This is your feedback system. This tells you whether you're on track or off track so that you can continue to improve. And the 4th defining trait is voluntary participation. You've got to want to play the game. If you don't want to play the game, if you don't want to improve, there's very little that we can do to help you master the game. So let's switch gears and let's talk about this thing called the responsibility game. Now, you see a glass jar here because I'd like to encourage you to get a bowl or a glass jar and put it somewhere that you visit frequently. Now, this could be on your desk, this could be in your kitchen, this could be anywhere that you are constantly going to see it. And we're going to do this thing called the responsibility game, and I'm going to encourage you to play for the next 7 days, and some of you will continue this for the next 30 days or 90 days or maybe even the whole year. But the responsibility game is a way for us to catch us in the act of either being responsible, in other words, having the ability to respond, thinking clearly, owning our results, or this game is going to help you start to identify when you've been playing what we call below the line. Now, this line right here represents when you begin to blame, shame, and justify. Okay? So if you're playing above the line, you're taking responsibility for your thoughts. You're taking responsibility for your actions. You're doing the things that you say you're going to do. So if you commit to calling someone and you do it, you're being responsible. If you commit to saving cash every week or at the end of the month and you do it, you're being responsible. If you commit to taking actions today to move your life and your business ahead and you do it, you're being responsible. If, however, you blame, shame, or justify why you didn't get the actions done you said you were going to do, why you didn't call those people that you knew would benefit from your product or your service, but you didn't do it, well, notice whether you're blaming, shaming, or justifying. And to make this game more fun, to make this game more exciting, we're actually going to put a little bit of money on the line. Now, you can decide to play the game with $1, $2, $5, $10. You can even do $100 every time you catch yourself blaming, shaming, or justifying. This is totally up to you. And the money that goes into this jar every time you blame, shame, or justify is actually going to go to a charity of your choice. Now, I want to share with you a little story about one of my clients who decided to play this game. She saw us do this at a live event one time, and her name was Lori, and she decided that she was not only going to play the game herself by putting the jar in her house, she was actually going to have her son help her with the game. Now, she went home, and a couple of weeks later, I get this phone call, and I get this message from Lori, and she says, "Jim Bunch, I hate you." And I went, "What?" She goes on in her message to say, "I am kidding, but I've been playing this game now for 2 weeks, and I got my son to help me play this game. So I gave him permission that anytime I blamed him, or I shamed myself, or I justified why we weren't to school on time, or why we didn't get dinner the way we said, or whatever it was," she goes, "anytime that I did that, I put $2 in the jar. But here's the caveat. I also told him that he could hold me accountable to playing a higher standard. He could hold me accountable to the responsibility game." So, guess what, Jim? I've been playing the game now for 2 weeks, and I filled the jar up twice. That's right. She realized that in her life, she had a tendency of blaming other people for why she wasn't getting the things done that she wanted to do, why her business wasn't growing at the level that it was supposed to, why she would promise that she would take her son on different trips or vacations or do things for him and wasn't doing it. What she realized, like you will probably realize, is that this game is designed to help you see your default patterns, to help you understand when you're actually losing the game. Because here's what we know. Anyone, and I mean anyone, who has achieved a high level of success in life and business has been responsible. They keep their commitments. They do what they say they're going to do. And they don't just do it every once in a while, they do it consistently. So I'm going to encourage you to play the responsibility game. Find a glass jar or a glass bowl. Grab some singles, some ones or fives or tens, and put a piece of paper next to this jar so that every time that you or someone else catches you playing beneath the line, you catch yourself blaming, shaming, or justifying, I want you to put $1 or $2 in the jar. But more importantly, write down what you were doing. Were you blaming somebody else? Were you shaming yourself? Or were you rationalizing or justifying why things happened the way that they did? I can promise you this, having done this with tens of thousands of people across the world, the people who play this game have one of those mind-blowing, awareness-expanding realities at some point where they realize that somehow down the line, they've been blaming, shaming, or justifying. And that's what's been keeping them from playing the game at the highest level. That's what's been keeping them from being a pro in the game of life. So enjoy the game, comment below and let us know what it is that you do when you're not being responsible. And more importantly, share with us what happens in your life when you begin playing above the line. Now, the final piece is this. We have a phrase that I love to say, and I want you to say this out loud with me because this phrase helps us keep reminded that the game is always on. This game of life is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And if you're playing at the pro level, I want you to practice this mantra with me. Ready? On the count of 3, I want you to say it out loud. I know it's going to seem weird, but I want you to do it with me. You ready? 1, 2, 3. The game is always on. That's right. Say it again. The game is always on. What this means is that for the next 24 hours, the next 7 days, the next 2 to 3 weeks, I want you to play the responsibility game full out and play to win. This is Jim Bunch saying until we connect again, have fun and remember, it's your choice to create your ultimate life. Game on.